Dear viewers, our topic today is comparison between structuralism and post-structuralism. Post-structuralism is a continuation and simultaneous rejection of structuralism. Both these theories are anti-humanist and linguistically oriented, yet there are some divergences or points of disagreement between them. They may be discussed as under. First of all, post-structuralism rejects structuralist assumption that things cannot be understood in isolation. They have to be seen in the context of larger structures they are part of. Anthropological structuralism transposed structuralism from linguistics to anthropology. The first man who drew on Saussure's analysis of language was Lévi-Strauss. He tried to show how the most diverse cultural myths are variations upon the same theme. Hence, the discrete bits of culture are not meaningful in themselves, but draw their meaning from the sign system in which they function. What a given element signifies within a culture depends on the system and not on the intrinsic meaning. The relationship between a specific element and its meaning is arbitrary as it is determined by convention. As Jonathan Culler puts it, structuralism is based on the realization that if human actions or productions have a meaning, there must be an underlying system of distinctions and conventions which makes this meaning possible. As regards post-structuralism, it denies the objective presence of larger structures which generate meaning. Post-structuralism, on the other hand, claims that these structures are actually the result of the interaction between the text and the reader, who temporarily stops the flow of infinite meaning that a text generates and discovers some sort of meaning. Secondly, language is at the heart of the difference between structuralism and post-structuralism. Structuralism believes that language is the key to our understanding of the world. In fact, Western philosophy claims that we possess a faculty called reason that with the help of its obedient servant language can get to know the world. Post-structuralism denies that language is the obedient servant of reason. On the contrary, language is uncontrollable and cannot play any role in our understanding of the world. So philosophy's pretensions of getting to know the world are false. Third point is related to the inherent instability of all structures. Structuralism argues we can express ourselves only with the help of pre-existing structures that speak through us. Post-structuralism agrees that the reader or the individual subject is to a large extent the product of these structures. As Roland Barthes puts it, this I which approaches the text is already itself a plurality of other texts, of codes which are infinite or more precisely lost. Post-structuralism believes that all structures are inherently unstable, mere temporary arrangements within infinite chains of signification. Therefore, the reader or the subject is also a temporary arrangement or an impermanent interruption in the flow of meaning. If we appear stable, that stability is merely appearance. In reality, we are inherently unstable and without a center. Since there is no center, there is no structure. We are made up of conflicting fragments. This view of subject is diametrically opposed to the liberal humanist view of the subject that prescribes that individual is capable of exercising self-determination, moral autonomy, and coherence. Fourthly, structuralism and post-structuralism also disagree on the question of interpretation. According to structuralism, solid and stable meaning can be discovered in the structures which are being studied. On the contrary, post-structuralism argues that literary texts generate an infinite flow of meaning. So interpretation is a matter of the reader. Text and reader interact to produce fleeting and always different moments of meaning. It implies that interpretations are as unstable as structures. They are mere freeze frames in a flow of signification. Poststructuralism also disagrees with the liberal humanist position that literary text has timeless significance and they put us in touch with human situation. Poststructuralism denies that literature refers to vital, unchanging truths. Literature can do no such things because it is also subject to the effect of difference like other forms of writing. Lastly, structuralism and poststructuralism deny the presence of authentic knowledge inside us. According to structuralism, what we say does not originate inside us, but it is stable and knowable. Poststructuralism, on the other hand, asserts that nothing is stable or knowable. In the absence of presence, all that is left is the play of difference. It implies that we normally try to understand things in terms of their presence. Similarly, it is this idea of presence that gives us the impression that we are in touch with our authentic being. Structuralism rejects the idea of presence or voice of a speaker in touch with his authentic being. For Derrida too, we do not directly express what is authentically present to us, what we genuinely know at the moment of saying it. We must make use of a language that simultaneously uses us, that speaks through us. It implies that we are heavily dependent upon language for our knowledge of the world and its articulation. We use language as an instrument to express ourselves. We use it to express something that is prior to language. We know beforehand what we want to say and choose words to express it. This is the basis of our confidence we feel in language. The certainty that we are in direct, immediate touch with ourselves. We know what is present to us and therefore undeniably true. This trust in the combination of language and presence is called Logocentrism by Derrida. Derrida deconstructs the notion of logocentrism. He says that our trust in language is misplaced, despite knowing that the relationship between language and the world is arbitrary, not natural. We use language to express it. Our flair for logocentrism blinds us to the fact that language is a self-referential system that operates on the principle of differentiality. It leads Derrida to conclude that language is not reliable. Words operate in a linguistic system that does not touch the real world. As Derrida puts it, there is nothing outside the text. It implies that meaning is produced with the help of difference. It does not derive from the outside world. Words are always subject to change because they are not linked with any fixed frame of reference. Furthermore, words never achieve stability because they are modified by other words. They undergo constant variation. In this connection, Derrida says the movement of signification is possible only if each so-called present element is related to something other than itself, thereby keeping within it the mark of the past element and letting itself be vitiated by the mark of the future element. It implies that meaning is the product of difference. Meaning is also subject to the process of deferral, as it is delayed during communication. Language is affected by difference. It is Derrida's term for differentiation and deferral. Meaning is vitiated because when the interaction of words takes place, their meaning intrudes into the meaning of other words. Therefore, language becomes muddy. It never offers us a direct contact with reality, but inserts itself between us and the world like a smudgy screen or a distorting lens. In this way, Derrida proves that language is not reliable. In the final analysis, poststructuralism deconstructs some of the basic assumptions of structuralism. It argues that language is fundamentally unstable and unreliable medium of communication because we rely on language in articulating our perception of reality, human perception, and for that matter, human knowledge is fundamentally flawed. Post-structuralism also argues that we have no genuine knowledge of ourself and our identity too is a prey to the indeterminacy of language. Thank you very much.